us in a hard position because I think just from looking at all the different revitalization programs that have worked, you can't have like an exterior force, you know,
right.
be it a linguist or anyone else coming in and imposing, you know, the revitalization program on them. It really has to, the impetus from it has to come within, and we are, I mean, as linguists, we're in position to you know, have access to all the experiences of other people and bring those in and say, you know, hey, this has worked, and you know, say, here are all these resources you can use, and you know, we're here and more than happy to help you in any way we possibly can. We can help you figure out, you know, what that little N thing is doing,
right.
and stuff, and yeah, I think that's the best way we can help is just our knowledge of how languages in general work. But you know, the heart of it has to come from within the community.
So do you generally identify like key community members, speakers, and really have a bond with that person in order to carry out the project?
Yeah, that's what I would think. That's probably one. I haven't, you know, not having actually done this work myself, you know, but that's what I've seen. Just a lot of the people in the department. I think like Mary Ann Methune, who we mentioned earlier. I think that's what. She was a consultant. They had a core group of people who were really interested and really dedicated to doing this. And then she was kind of like their consultant, their go-to person for, you know, like figuring out the things that needed to be done. And it was just kind of a constant evolution of, you know, how to teach the children, you know, and how everything would flow.
It's funny because I'm at the beginning of that process and developing that relationship with the community that I work with in Port Hardy in Vancouver Island. And it did start initially with an invitation. So I think there used to be more situations where someone would say, I want to work on that language, and then they would go there and just show up, you know.
Yeah.
So that's not really how it works anymore.
Yeah.
Which is good. And but so I did get to know some folks who were from this place and working on their language already. So they already had a kind of a really high degree of capability within the community in lots of ways, technically and in terms of understanding the language, and having worked with a master apprentice model, which is a particular revitalization approach. And they said, you know, we really see the value of what linguistic expertise can offer, and we'd like to take advantage of that if you're willing to come and work with us. So that was, you know, ideal for me. And then I think from there it's a process of working together to figure out how you can help each other. And pretty much, you know, the first thing that we started with was introducing ourselves and the whole concept of documentation and what the value of documentation is, why you would make these recordings and transcribe them and translate them. We went to an elders luncheon and we spoke with elders about their language and asked them what kinds of things they would like to do. And one of the things they said right away is they wanted to have a gathering where no one was recording, because they don't get a chance to speak their language that much with each other. And so we said, sure, that's great. You know, we baked a cake and had everybody come and just kind of gab in the language, and that was wonderful, and it made them feel much more comfortable.
Yeah, that's really nice, because you know, for a lot of the people, you know, they were not allowed to speak their language.
No,
exactly.
So for outsiders to come in and say, you know, like, I want to record you, or we're going to do this, I can see that
they're really on the spot.
Exactly.
And they were amazingly open right away about their experiences in residential schools and how much that had transformed their relationship with their own maternal language. So their first language, when they went into school, was something that they were punished for speaking.
Right.
And and a lot of them really put it away, you know, for a long, long time. So so that was kind of the first step. And since then, some of the other things that we've done have been, right before I left, we had a meeting of younger folks who are interested in revitalization, to talk about some of the different models that have been applied in different communities, because there really isn't one right answer.
Right.
And so In some places, they're doing an immersion school and they're really putting it into the school system, and it's very institutionalized. In other places, it's 2 or 3 families that are doing it in their home. I do have to say that a lot of the most successful programs involve some kind of home-based learning and shared learning, where the parents are also learning and they're sharing it with their kids. And then there are lots of ways that you can develop materials to support that kind of process. And but there's a whole range. You know, there's also there are culture classes where the emphasis is not on learning to speak fluently, but on having vocabulary and knowing what to call things. What are the right words to use in different situations?
Yeah, I could say, like, for instance, with my kids, it's been where some of the material culture, they have learned the native word for it, our Chumash language, for that particular item, or whether it be part of their regalia, or you know, just the animal in general, and you know, really the connection between it being, you know, speaking it in English is kind of very strange to them.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, and we have things that we talk about that we will only speak in the language, and you know, they get to talk to us too as well. So, I mean, I think that has helped.
It's really special. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So, you know, we have a lot to work on still, but because so much of our language, there's no word to translate. When we can't talk about a cell phone or
Right. Actually, I've seen, you know, last year at W.A.I.L, we had a wonderful talk that was about the process of coming up with new words in a particular language project. I'm trying to remember. It was the Sauk language from Oklahoma.
Okay.
And so they were talking about exactly that question. Okay, so how do you come up with a new word for a cell phone, you know, that's in the language? Then you know, and they come up with things like, you know, there's some like classifier that means a thing that's like long and thin and, you know, flat, and then you know, and then there's a verb that means talk, and another part of the verb that means going both ways, and you know, attached to your ear or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think that can be actually a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely. And sometimes it makes sense to just take the English word and fit it into the language in some way. Maybe you stick a suffix on it and it makes it, you know, or you change the way it's pronounced. And that's totally fine. You know, the point is to be making it possible to use the language and enjoy using it, and have it be something that people feel good about and they're proud of speaking, and they know that it has a place in their lives.
Yeah. So let's talk about the contact information. We're going to have it on the screen, but if you can just kind of wrap it up and just, you know, let us know what the project is or the workshop's about, like, once again, and let us know how to contact you, where you are.
So this is the 13th annual Workshop on American Indigenous Languages. It's going to be held at UC Santa Barbara in the Student Resource Building on April 30th and May 1st. From about 9 to 5. And we'll have other activities as well as conference presentations. We're also going to have a couple of field walks, hopefully a native plants walk about the plants of the area and their uses in Chumash culture. And we would invite anyone who wants to participate in the conference in some way to contact us ahead of time. We love volunteers, of course.